vote to allow them to attend by video or audio conference. Is there a motion to allow Trustee Sharma to join the July 19th and 20th, 20 meetings by Zoom?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'd like to welcome our new trustees, student trustee Victor Ludwig from and SIU student trustee Lauren Harris. They were there. Why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Victor Ludwig. I'm a student at SIUC. I am in an undergrad program for sociology and Africana studies. I grew up here in Illinois, near the Effingham area in a small town called Sickle. I'm very glad to be here. I thank you all for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you and help better the education for myself and my peers.
Thank you. Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren Harris. I'm finishing up my undergraduate degree at SIU right now, like literally in the next couple of weeks, in history and political science. And then I'm be starting a graduate program at Edwardsville in media studies, hopefully, in the fall. I'm also very thankful for the opportunity, and I'm really excited to get to know everyone and get to work with everyone to be an effective.
Okay, well, thank you. We're looking forward to working with you. I'm going to appoint Trustee Harris to serve as a member of the Academic Matters Committee and Audit Committee. And I will appoint Trustee Ludwig to serve as a member of the Finance Committee and Architectural Design Committee. There will be a public questions and comments portion available for today's meeting to last up to 15 minutes, a total of 3 minutes per speaker. Are there any persons who wish to speak today, Madam Secretary? Okay, we now have the presentation by the SIU School of Medicine. Dr. Kupcha, will you please introduce our speakers?
Thank you, Judge Gilbert. Today we will hear from the SIU School of Medicine Global Brigade. I would like to recognize Dr. Lori Loft. I think she's going to be there. Dr. Loft, thank you for being here. Who has kindly asked me to introduce a chapter leader instead. So I'm pleased to welcome our presenters today and introduce to you the SIU School of Medicine Global Brigade chapter leader, Ashley Ann Walker. During the presentation, you will get to meet other chapter officers. Ashley Ann is currently a third-year medical student interested in pursuing a surgical career and is part of a medical education track here at SIU. She grew up in Aurora, Illinois, and graduated with a degree in chemistry from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in 2020. As a child of two immigrants from Jamaica, global health has always been an interest to her. In 2019, she attended her first medical brigade to Honduras. Unfortunately, her subsequent trips were canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So she was ecstatic to start the SIU SOM's Global Brigade chapter again and lead the 2023 brigade to Panama. Ms. Walker, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So again, my name is Ashley Walker. I was the chapter leader who sort of put together this whole trip along with my classmates here. So if you could pull up the PowerPoint. That's okay. All right, so I just wanted to introduce Stephanie Viteri. She couldn't join us today, but she was our education chair for the Global Brigades chapter. She is studying for her boards right now, so we're all wishing her luck. Sophie?
Hi, my name is Sophie Mounts. I am also a year 3 here at SIU. I'm the fundraising chair for our chapter of Global Brigades, and I help set up some fundraising events to raise money for the trips, and we'll talk a little bit more specifics about that in a bit.
I'm Michael Brown. I'm a third-year medical student as well, and I was just a volunteer on this trip and just helping out with the presentation.
And again, I'm Lori Lopp. I'm one of the family medicine faculty here at the School of Medicine, and I am very blessed to work in the Department of Family and Community Medicine. And still remember the day that I talked with Dr. Cruz before I started my work here 17 years ago, and I was super fortunate to join the students on this trip.
All right, so the company that we decided to go with is Global Brigades. And Global Brigades is an international nonprofit organization that empowers communities to meet the health and economic goals through university volunteers and local teams. Their mission is titled the Empowered 300. The primary objective is to empower 300 communities to permanently rise out of global poverty through 3 overarching programmatic goals anchored to our 3 core programming components. Those include healthcare, water and sanitation, and then economic development. So aside from my previous experience with Global Brigades, part of the reason that I chose this nonprofit as I entered into my medical studies was because I felt like it aligned perfectly with SIU's triple aim +1, which is healthcare that is more effective, efficient, equitable, and enjoyable. So why Panama? Part of the reason we chose Panama were because of travel restrictions, but a lot of it had to do with their need as a country. So there's lack of access to clinics, primarily in rural communities. Patients rarely have access to healthcare that are staffed with physicians and or nurses, and sometimes they don't even have access to medications that are necessary for the treatments that they need. The quantity of physicians as well is another factor of why we chose Panama. The physician density in Panama is 1.6 doctors for every 1,000 people, and about 3 people out of 10,000 don't have access to a dentist either. Our team included the SIU team, as well as we were paired with Idaho College of Osteopathic Medicine. We decided to allow 2 independent volunteers who joined us from, who were pre-med students who joined us from University of Illinois Springfield, as well as 2 other medical students from Washington University in St. Louis, as well as Georgetown University. So what did we do while we were in Panama? We set up free clinics in 2 underserved communities, which were Higuernal and Canazas, over the span of 4 days. We assisted in filling prescriptions, medical documentation, and public health education. And again, we were accompanied by a team full of providers, as well as Global Brigade providers and medical students. So it was a great opportunity to kind of socialize with both osteopathic medical students as well as pre-med students, and kind of guide each other on our deficiencies. So
as volunteers, we collect supplies to take with us on these brigades. And SIU alone, we were able to bring over 300 toothbrushes, over 700 tubes of toothpaste, and over 140 units of floss, as well as COVID tests, soap, shampoo, conditioner, and then and lots more. That picture is all of us putting together hygiene packs for the patients that we were serving. As they go through the clinic, they would pick those up at the end. And while we were at the clinic, it was estimated that we served over 300 people from Panama.
So as patients, when we were at the clinic days, as they would go through the different stations, if they were waiting for pharmaceuticals or anything like that from pharmacy, we invited them into what's called a Charla, which just means a chat. And we had a couple different presentations. They were fairly basic public health initiatives. And they were generally aimed at the children, but any adults or older children were also invited in as well. And we just kind of went over basics of oral hygiene, hand hygiene, and how to access clean water and make clean water. And before any of us went on the brigade, Stephanie Battieri, as the education chair, put on a really good presentation that kind of taught us some of the basics of ethical volunteering. So just recognizing that we're not there to pat ourselves on the back, to create a bunch of posts on social media. We're there to actually create hopefully a meaningful difference for the people that we served. And part of that was cultural preparation as well. So some history and some geography. She went over some very common words and phrases that we would use, and those definitely came in handy, especially in the clinical setting. And then currency, which was actually just United States currency, so that was easy. And then one of the on one of the days that we were there, one of the first days, we had the opportunity to kind of immerse ourselves in one of the communities, and they showed us around. They showed us one of their pharmacy setups that they had, and then they invited us into a building where they practiced a lot of their different artistry and crafts and everything. And so we had the opportunity to look through all that and buy different pieces of jewelry and art pieces, and also had the opportunity to watch one of their dances and participate in a dance with them as well.
There was originally a very cute video of them dancing together with the people of Panama, but unfortunately it wouldn't load. So you guys can just use your imagination.
We could recreate it.
So back to the fundraising, the trip did cost around $2,700 a person. So to help offset those costs, we set up a few fundraising events. Our big fundraising event we had back in March, and it was a trivia night. And it was very successful. We raised over $4,000 just on that night alone. And that picture, you can see the tables filled with people at the trivia night. And then there's some of us that were working the concessions at it. And then we had a few other events at Panda Express. So it was a dine to donate. Anyone who went there and said that they were raising money for our brigade, 20% of the money from their order would go to our fundraising. And then Ashley also helped set up casual days through SIU. So we did get some money from that as well. And then in terms of some of the supply collection we did, Dr. Lopp helped us a lot with that through her connections with other physicians and dentists. And then Planned Parenthood also helped get us some supplies as well.
And I, again, wanted just to convey to all of you and really truly why I wanted the students to present primarily is that I really was fortunate to go on this trip, but this trip is their trip. They absolutely were motivated for this trip. They planned this trip from the beginning. They connected with Global Brigades and even partnered with two of the students that Ashley mentioned were actually on the brigade with her in 2018 and had connections. And they are students from Illinois, but going to school in other places, came back together in this bond through Global Brigades and joined us in our week. So I just absolutely cannot say enough to all of you about the leadership and maturity and spirit of our SIU students, primarily the four that were introduced and all of them that came. We had a fourth year and also a second year on the trip as well with us. And they were incredible. So I just want to give them all the credit. I'm also proud to learn and to say that Dr. Cruz knows a lot of history about Global Brigades, and the organization was created in 2004. So it's really a very new organization, and he was able to go on the second mission trip in 2005. And he has done 6 Global Brigades in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 2011.
That's true.
So, yeah. In fact, if you look at the Global Brigades website, one of the first pictures when they go through their historical story, Dr. Cruz is in that picture. In the back row, you can see him clearly. So again, Dr. Cruz knows a lot about Global Brigades, but I can also say that, again, the students truly found and were motivated towards this effort. And we're fortunate that Global Brigades exists to offer students this opportunity, which is incredibly supported. The Global Brigade staff is extraordinary, very focused on coordination, education, preparation. We had a lot of meetings virtually with in-country team before we left. And also, again, when we arrived, very focused on safety for our entire group. I was very, very, very impressed by the whole process. This is just a couple pictures to demonstrate, as Mike said, we would rotate through stations. So the students were able to break up into smaller groups of about 4 students. And each of those clinic days that we had, they would spend in a different area. So one of our areas was in triage, where they got to do blood pressures and weights and measurements. And the second area, again, was in the Charla. So they had the opportunity to provide education and interact with the families and the children. And then our third area was in our visit section. So patients would come in to be seen, and we would have the students in there with us as well. On our brigade, we had 2 Panamanian physicians, and then I was also able to act as a physician as well. So patients would be seen by one of the 3 of us, and then we had students, of course, with us. The two Panamanian physicians were fantastic. One of them spoke more English than the other. And so I feel like it was a really, really nice experience for the students. They got exposed to a physician who wasn't speaking a lot of English, even to them, and one that was kind of in the middle somewhere. And then of course I was fully speaking English to them, but interacting a lot in Spanish with the patients. And then also we had a newly graduated physician working with me, and she would help interpret a lot for the things that I wanted to share with the families. So we were supported very well, but having, in my opinion, a faculty with them, I hope was beneficial to try to relay some of what we were seeing in a little different way than maybe the Panamanian physicians could. The top picture is the fourth rotation, and that was in our pharmacy. And you can see there somewhere in the middle is the Panamanian pharmacist that we had, and then the team around. And so we just had a very nice supply of standard medications that represented, maybe 4 or 5 medications from common categories that patients would need that we could supply to them. So of course, part of the cost of our trip goes towards all of these efforts. We did bring lots and lots of supplies, but Global Brigades also help support some of the pharmaceuticals, and they also help support the pharmacy that Mike mentioned that we got to visit. There's such low access for pharmaceuticals in that country that Global Brigades has the funding through trips like ours and our contributions to set up very, very small pharmacies in someone's home that Global Brigades works with them to stock 20 or 30 items that are kind of urgent items that a family might need that lives in a small village. And again, through this great work and our contributions, those small pharmacies can exist to fill times in between trips like these when patients need medication.
So I think obviously the point of this trip was to provide service for the people in Panama that we serve, but this also had a huge impact on the volunteers. And so we just wanted to highlight some of those reflections. And I think a lot of these resonated with all of the participants, all the volunteers that went along. So Alexis Thomas is a third-year medical student, and she said when reflecting on the brigade, the main words that come to mind are compassion, respect, and joy. One of the things that really stuck with her was how far a simple smile can go in communicating with others. And I think this is kind of a recurring theme here, is that with the language barriers, a lot of the communication had to be nonverbal. And so this was one thing that she noticed there, was just kind of how the nonverbal communication can really play a huge role. While we were there, we were able to practice some of the skills that we learned in medical school. And she just believes that Global Brigades did a great job of promoting sustainable communities, and she's looking forward for future brigades. And Greg Redwinski is a fourth-year medical student. And he thought that really just seeing the different cultures will allow him to better serve his patients and be more cognizant of cultural differences and how you can kind of navigate some of those moving forward in his medical career. He also had a lot of practice communicating with people, even if they didn't speak the same language. And this one's me. I'm Michael Brown. So to me, it was really a reminder of why I got into medicine, and that's to help people and to make meaningful connections. I really truly thought each day was an exercise in teamwork as we set up and tore down each station every single day. I've got memories that are going to last me a lifetime. I've made new friends, even within this school and at other medical schools as well. I really think it was a very great experience. And I think that with continued engagement, hopefully SIU, can in the future, with continued engagement, inspire the next generation of people who are passionate about global health.
So some of our future goals include expanding volunteer recruitment as well as the number of volunteers. It was a little late that we got our casual day plan through SIU, but I sent out a mass email that some of you may have gotten, and I got an amazing response from people. There were healthcare techs reaching out to me, physicians reaching out to me about wanting to participate in trips on the future. So that's something that we're going to try and do, as well as gain more sponsors and funding. Fundraising was very difficult for us to do as students. And it was the main reason that a lot of people who expressed interest originally could not attend the trip. It was obviously a very expensive trip, but honestly, it's a priceless experience. So hopefully if we can gain more funding, we would allow more students to be able to attend. In addition, Global Brigades allows us to add a public health component where we enter different rural communities and we can build sanitation stations for families and like stoves and just different things that we can kind of enhance their public health component in these communities, as well as a dental component. There were quite a few patients who came in seeking dental help, and we didn't have a dentist on site, so we're hoping to add that in the future as well. And last but not least, we're hoping to plan another brigade next summer in 2024. I think me and Sophia are heart set on going to Ghana, but we'll see if we can make that work. So with that, I'd like to thank Dr. Love especially. She was absolutely incredible helping with gaining supplies and just communicating. This was my first time being in a leadership role with Global Brigades, and she made my experience incredibly easy. So I'm so thankful that you were able to join us, Dr. Love. And with that, does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. How many years has Global Brigade been operating?
I believe
2004.
2004. And what kind of publicity do you get out of this? I mean, other than, going back to what Dr. Hightower, we need to tell our story. This is a hell of a story. Do you get in magazines or something? I mean, how do we let the public know what you folks are doing here, which is absolutely amazing?
I think we could work on aspects, the SIU magazine.
So
School of
that's
Medicine.
absolutely on my list. I mean, that's the first thing this is an aspects, highlight for sure. And then many other things that we can consider. And you're absolutely right. And I can't say it enough that I went on this trip, but I mean, truly the spirit of the very beginning of it all comes from the students. And truly I was excited about Global Brigades, and unfortunately the way this actually happened is I went on their website and looked and found Ashley, and unfortunately it happened on the website. I'm like, SIU students are going, this is amazing, but that's actually how it happened, and I knew in that moment I am destined to go on this trip. So yeah, we need to get the word out. It's incredible.
So Judge Gilbert, we actually, through the strategic plan, we have a system-wide marketing and communications committee.
Oh, okay.
Where all the marketing and communications directors work together. And so Rakisha is here, JC is on that team. So we can, through that committee, Rakisha's nodding, so.
Okay. You're nodding. Okay.
We also we have had a Instagram site going, just very minimally, a little bit about the trip. So there's been some action there too.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. That was fantastic. And what I was thinking when you were going through the presentation, because I saw at the beginning when you were talking about the supplies, there were toothbrushes and toothpaste and all of that. And something that I think we focus on a lot is the systems in the schools working together to collaborate. And it looks like that's in your future plan to bring a dentist with you. So the good news is we have a dental school with dentists and dental students. So I think this would be a fantastic opportunity to work together and collaborate.
And pharmacy and nurses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if I could just mention, I did volunteer when they practiced to connect them with the dental and pharmacy school. This is the chancellor of SIU. So he nodded his head, so.
We're adding stuff here to do this.
And I also did volunteer, Dr. Hightower, to get them in touch with the Springfield Rotary Club so that they can apply for a global grant, hopefully.
Awesome, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for having
thank you,
us.
everyone.
Dr. Sharma, looks like you're on the beach.
No, I am at home, but the background looks like good. I'm in San Diego.
Okay, now we have the next item is the presentation of the SIUC on the eclipse. Chancellor Lane, will you introduce the speaker?
Yes, thank you, Judge, Chairman. I am excited to talk about something, speaking of getting some attention, whether it's in the media or different places. This next event draws attention not only from local, regional, state, across the country, across the world. And we've got some experts here. Sarah, I don't know if you knew when we hired you, you were going to be jumping right into this. Did you know that ahead of time?
I figured it out in like a second.
Yeah, pretty quick.
You know,
So
you were everywhere.
she
Everywhere.
is.
Yeah.
She is everywhere, and she does a tremendous job, and she's going to do an even better job on our 2024 total solar eclipse. This is the second one over the last 7 years, and we've got some very smart folks that are going to be talking through exactly what we're going to do to get ready for this. If you live in Carbondale, you already have people, right, Cheryl, asking to stay with you in your home, because the last time this happened, people were literally sleeping on the side of the road and camping out, and it was pretty crazy. So with that, Sarah, I want you to take it away and introduce your folks you have with us today and
Absolutely.
listen in.
Yeah. So my name is Sarah Van Born. I'm the Director of Events and Outreach at SIU Carbondale. I'm co-chair of the Eclipse steering committee on campus. This is Bob Bear. He's my co-chair counterpart. He's also a specialist in the School of Physics at SIU Carbondale. We really appreciate you having us today. Our main goal today is to be informational. We want you to know everything that we're doing on campus, have general information about what an eclipse is, and why SIU Carbondale is ideally positioned again for an eclipse in 2024, just as we were in 2017. We want you to know the outreach, research, and engagement pieces we are facilitating as a part of the eclipse planning. And then last, really have knowledge of the events and activities that we have going on campus and the opportunities for media, sponsors, and attendees. Bob was the co-chair of the 2017 Eclipse Steering Committee. He's going to give the bulk of the presentation. We have a lot of research components associated with our eclipse planning too. And then we'll leave some opportunity at the end for you all to ask us any questions. So, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, thank you for having us here today. This is one of our favorite things to talk about. It's pretty exciting. And as Chancellor Lane said, this is the second total solar eclipse in 7 years. And this map, gosh, I think a lot of people might have seen this map. I first saw it in 2014 and asked what I think a lot of people did. What does that mean? What is that? Well, those are the total solar eclipse paths across the country. And that blue line intersects right over Carbondale. Actually, that line, I think the 2017 line went right through the stadium, actually. So what does it mean when you're in the path of totality? And it means you're in the shadow of the moon during a total solar eclipse. So when you're in the shadow of the moon, you see a 360-degree sunset effect. That is the light outside of the shadow of the moon on the ground. And then if you look up in the sky, you see something like this. The solar corona is the white part of the sun. That's the solar atmosphere. And it stretches out. It looks like cotton candy across the sky. And where the sun was, the moon's blocking it. And it looks like a black hole in the sky. And I have to ask, how many people saw the last total solar eclipse or have seen one? So a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So when that happened, the effect on me was like the effect on a lot of people throughout history. You think the sun's gone. It has a real profound effect on people. It's stopped wars before. There was a famous 6-year war in Turkey that was ended by a total solar eclipse. The people thought it was a sign from God to stop fighting. Columbus, with a total lunar eclipse, he was able to put down an uprising in Jamaica and convince the locals to keep giving him and his men provisions because he knew that that eclipse was coming up and was able to predict it. So for us at SIU Carbondale, it was a unifying event. So people came together on campus. We had about 600 volunteers between campus and the rest of the community putting on the events throughout Eclipse Week, I should call it. It was a four-day Eclipse Festival in 2017. All these images are from campus. We had 4,000 high school and middle school students in the stadium that day. The stadium was full. So the stadium had 15,000 people in it. It was at capacity. We launched high altitude balloons from the stadium. These were actually launched by Louisiana State University, the Louisiana Space Consortium. And then NASA Edge was on campus in 2017, and they're coming back in 2024 as well. So they had one of 5 stages that were on campus putting on shows, and they actually used I think it was 10 to 12 of our students from campus as part of what they were doing from campus, the exposure. These were little mini NASA internships. So that, Sarah, do you want to talk about the events?
Yeah, so I think the important thing to know about what we have going on is really the what are we doing, why, and who. So we have a lot of activities planned on campus as a part of the Eclipse. So we'll have a Comic-Con, we'll have a Saluki, it's called SalukiCon, and that'll be Saturday and Sunday of Eclipse weekend. We'll have a bunch of research workshops with a lot of our partners, NASA, Adler Planetarium, etc. We'll have a national radio show host doing an Eclipse Eve Live the day before the eclipse in our Shyok Auditorium on campus. We'll also have an Astronomy, Science, and Technology Expo, an Art and Craft Fair. Then we'll also have Eclipse Day in Saluki Stadium. We have a steering committee which consists of members of the community, both in Carbondale and the region, that are planning activities not just in Carbondale, but a lot of people in Southern Illinois are looking to us for our planning efforts. Why is this important? This is important because it represents who we are as higher education institutions. It's education, it's research, it's community engagement, and the community engagement piece of Eclipse planning and what we're doing on campus is the most important piece of this event. And then who is it for? It's really for anyone, but the main, we'll have families there, staff, alumni, students, a lot of people in the Southern Illinois region, the Midwest. We are doing a lot of outreach to people directly outside of the path of totality to get them to Carbondale, because we have an Amtrak, buses, we have a lot of transportation that goes directly through Carbondale, and then obviously the media is the other entity that we have a lot of connection with as a part of planning.
So as far as the media goes, why is the media important? So we can reach all the people on campus with this. We can reach people in the region. And I should mention, we had the stadium full for Eclipse Day, but we also had 15,000 additional people outside the stadium, 30,000 visitors to campus. So we can engage them. But how do we engage beyond campus? Well, in 2017, we had over 80 media groups on campus. We had the lion's share of the media for the Eclipse nationwide. And when people ask me who was there, I say everyone was there, because it was all the major networks were there. Some of them were anchoring their national coverage of the eclipse from campus. It's hard to put a value on this. So for 2 days, we're talking about August 20th and 21st, and the eclipse was on the 21st. The estimate was over $8 million in advertising had we paid for that type of media coverage. But a lot of this you can't put a price on. You can't convince media to come and cover what you're doing, of course, and NASA goes where NASA has funding to go to. So that type of engagement that you're seeing on the left, those are billions of people engaged. Those numbers are off scale. If anyone knows anything about the social media engagement numbers, we're usually talking millions, but these are completely off scale. This was the largest event that NASA ever did in terms of engagement, even larger than the Apollo program. So NASA's putting money into this. These are a list of the grants that we have selected for funding or awarded so far. And one of these, Dev Initiative, was actually in SIU News this morning. I think John Charles was the one who mentioned that to me. So that one's been announced. It was awarded about a month ago. The largest one on here, Solar Steam, that's a partnership between NASA, Adler Planetarium, Illinois Space Grant, Johns Hopkins University, and Ares Scientific, which is a group of NASA scientists. And that one's pretty large. Combined, we're looking at about $3.5 million of funding this time around as a minimum. And like I said, quite a bit more than 2017. So what have we been able to do with that so far? We did a combined research and study abroad trip to Australia for the Australian eclipse in April of just this year. And what you're seeing here are some of the research telescopes that are set up. The DEV initiative scopes that I mentioned, they're these tiny scopes on the side. They're only that big. Those are going all across the country. In 2024, we're putting about 70 teams throughout the US, Mexico, and Canada to do solar observations. And then these two scopes are smaller scopes that match the Lunt Solar Systems Sun Lab, which was in Carbondale the first time around. That's a mobile solar observing lab. And those are for the main NASA telescope feeds, the one from the ground. So suggested homework for anyone who wants to do something fun is to check out In the Shadow, which is the SIUC Eclipse documentary. This is about an hour long and it covers the planning, the events, but also all the other activities, all the lead up events to the eclipse. Because even though the eclipse is only 4 minutes this time around, it's events leading up to it and going well after it. So with that, if we have any questions or comments.
Well, as I understand it, the total eclipse is going to be longer this time than it was in 2017.
Like double the length of the previous.
The length is
Yeah,
longer.
yeah.
Okay. Secondly, do you understand that I put Father Brown in charge of the web? Last board meeting, I put Father Brown in charge of the web.
Yeah. So no, that's actually important. The weather, gosh, we had a weather backup plan in 17. 2024, that's what the broadcasts are about. So the ability to take what we're doing beyond campus and then anchoring our broadcast. The NASA Edge broadcast pulls in feeds from across the country. And gosh, the other thing you mentioned about it dark for longer, it's going to be really dark this time around.
But the classes we had before are not good for this one?
They are, as long as they're not scratched or like a common thing in 17 was to get sunscreen on them. That'll damage the film.
Wish I'd known that because I threw mine away.
We already. So that's the thing about eclipse planning is that this eclipse trajectory goes over a more highly populated areas. So we have to arrange ordering eclipse glasses, things that we're doing to facilitate the events now. So we already have eclipse glasses ordered and on campus, and that's something that a lot of people who are doing eclipse planning won't have done. They won't know that you need to order glasses now through companies, but that's really awesome is that we have the experience and know how to facilitate doing this. And that's why doing outreach and getting people here is important because we know how to do this well.
So when will the glasses start being available?
Tonight?
Now. Honestly, if you're going to the SIU system event, we'll have a table there and we'll have both eclipse glasses and viewers glasses. Viewers, you can put on like a lanyard. They're great for little kids, better for little kids because they can just hold them in front of their face. But we'll have both tonight, so you can pick some up tonight if you're there.
Now, if you also talk to the surrounding communities regarding traffic flow.
Right.
Yeah, actually,
that was a nightmare.
Well,
years ago.
So the steering committee was born out of the need for safety and regional engagement. When I say regional engagement, I mean the states around Illinois, Southern Illinois, reaching up all the way through the state. So the Safety and Security Subcommittee, which is led by Lieutenant Hollister on campus, the first time around, that was a committee of 150 people. And we were holding meetings for state police, Homeland Security, EMS at SIU Carbondale for some time to coordinate all that.
The other idea too is that when people are on campus, we're going to have activities that are happening after the eclipse is over. So we do know in a lot of eclipse locales, when people go to view eclipses, that is a thing. There's going to be people are going to leave and they're going to want to get home. But our hope is to have some activities they can participate in on campus that at least some people stay, and that the traffic will be a little less leaving Carbondale. But I cannot predict the traffic nor the weather, so we'll plan as much as we can. Yeah, good question.
It's been a topic of discussion on our calls. Matt and I meet with the city and all of the leaders, so to speak, and talk through. They know this is coming. They're excited because of the economic impact and the notoriety to the city and the region. But constant discussions are happening.
Well, one thing that's going to be it's in April instead of August.
Right.
So, because I know last time you had, they had paramedics posted because of the heat. But we shouldn't have that problem in April, I wouldn't think, but you're still gonna have to involve the fire departments, the paramedics, all law enforcement within a 30, 40-mile radius.
We worked pretty closely with SIH the first time around, Southern Illinois Healthcare. And I know that we were over-prepared to some extent the first time around, which was good. But you still have to do something for 2024, and it will be significant.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
One question I have, I was actually talking to a staff member, and he must be one of our best treated staff members, because his only complaint that he had for me was that he wasn't able to actually go to the event because he's one of our academic advisors and wasn't able to actually go. Is there going to be some type of administrative closure that way staff are able to?
Yeah, so there's a partial administrative closure, and what a partial administrative closure is the students will not be on campus. Faculty and staff will. And if they don't want to be, they have to take a vacation day. But we're going to work as a part of our campus communications to make sure that everybody is ensuring that their staff have the opportunity to view the eclipse. We want to encourage people to volunteer on campus, but we will have communication going out that says, here's what a partial admin closure is. Here's what parking will look like on campus. And that won't just go to faculty and staff, it'll also go to students. But I do agree with you. I heard about the same thing too in 2017. And I think that we are all committed to making sure that it's a really cool event and that everybody actually gets to see it.
Yeah, and to clarify just a tiny bit, we're not requiring the students to be on campus.
Correct.
There will be a lot of students.
There will
on
be
campus.
students here, but they won't be in classes. They won't be in physical classes, but classroom spaces. Thank you. Cool.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah.
Yeah, and eclipse.siu.edu, that's where everything's nested. So I should probably say that. All right, thank you all.
You two can have the rest of the day off now.
No.
Well, he pulls rank on me, so sorry, Sarah. Jennifer told me to tell you to take the rest of the day off. Okay, now is the informational report on awards of contract by SIU Foundation for the SIU Credit Union Event Center at Touch of Nature. Is Vice Chancellor Kupek, is he on the line or on the Zoom? There you are, Matt. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It will be quick. We don't have a fancy presentation. Candidly, in full disclosure, as an undergraduate, I took Astronomy 31. And I was getting very nervous that Bob was going to ask me questions about the eclipse. So thankfully he did not see me because I don't recall a whole lot from that grade class. But very quickly, we're here today as an information piece. At your December 22nd meeting, you approved the design and construction of a great new facility at the Touch of Nature campus, the SIU Credit Union Event Center. I apologize, here I'm getting a lot of calls, but so after approval, it was the condition that we would come back to you and inform you when the contracts have been awarded. They have been now. We went through a process. The initial bids were way overbid. We've been able to work through that, and we're excited to inform you that the bids have been awarded. And construction can begin, and we expect to be completed early January 2024. And this is one of the new buildings that we hope to bring before you in the coming years. So great news.
That is great news. Any questions of Vice Chancellor Kupek? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
For the information report. Okay, next we will close the meeting to go into executive session. I move to close the meeting to the public for the purpose of considering pending, probable, or imminent court proceedings against or on behalf of the board, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and review of executive session minutes. the relevant sections of the Open Meetings Act statute that allow for the closed section for 5 ILCS 120/2, paren C, paren 1, paren 11, and paren 21. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Curtis, Gilbert,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Salver,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Sedgwick.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries, and we're now going to close it